Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So in today's video we're going to talk to you about SO31 repair solutions. Basically what we're going to focus on is the SO31 not being able to lift off. And there's always a couple of things that can do that. One, a very poorly charged battery. So you might want to try recharging it first, and because that can definitely cause some issues there. But if you know your battery's charged up and it's got plenty of juice and your blades are going but you're still not lifting off, there's going to be probably a couple other things that are going to contribute to it not being able to lift off. Now up in the top headpiece here, you've got a steel pin that actually goes right across here. So, unless you bent that pin so bad that, it's just not doing its job, then yeah, you might want to look into that. But likelihood of that pin ever causing a big problem with the top rotor assembly is pretty much slim to none, right? But inspect your top rotor assembly for any kind of damage or breakage in this area. That can cause liftoff issues. It's not always about free spin, you know what I mean? Like where, it can just spin and spin and, it's really not doing much. So inspect this area first. One thing I also tell people too, now this doesn't have anything to do with liftoff, but you get a lot better control out of your helicopter if you've got both dog bones in. So make sure they're both in. But what's going to go wrong commonly, if you've got an SO31 that has the black gears, one thing I found is the black gears are garbage because they only have one screw, in which case the main shaft has only got one notch in it as well. Because of that, I've had a lot of problem with that screw backing off on me quite frequently. It's caused flying issues. It's never caused a getting off the ground issue, but it has caused my helicopter to actually crash a lot because it creates too much play in here, and you can tighten it up tight as a drum, get off into the air, and not even within 2 minutes it's backed itself out somehow. It's just a lousy gear train, so try and find yourself the beige gear train. Now, you can order gear sets from Estes for the WE 2012. They're the exact same helicopter as the SO31, because if you're looking at this one here and you compare it to the SO31, there's absolutely not one spit of difference, guys. Not one. Every single part is 100% transferable between them. So, not a problem there. So you can get parts kits from Estes. These beige gears or white gears are actually the bomb. They're the best gears that I've come across. They handle a lot of wear and tear. The black gears are a little softer. These are a little bit harder, but these are the better gears because you will have 2 screws on this gear set. You can even replace your whole rotor assembly too to make sure you have the beige gears matched to the new rotor assembly, because you're going to have a double notch on your inner shaft for your bottom gear, because your bottom gear controls your top head set. Okay, so if you've broken your locking cutout where the screws go in, then yeah, you're going to get some spin here. This is going to spin. There might be enough of a burr that it would keep spinning here, and you wouldn't get lift off. That can definitely cause that. Another thing that can cause not being able to lift off is if you've broken the shaft support inside this gear on the top, which controls your bottom blade set. If you break that little shafted area, that can also cause the helicopter not to lift off. And this gear commonly breaks on a lot of different helicopters. Now this one is held in with screws, and you've got 2 screws on the beige gear set. Now if you break the screws but you didn't break the gear, you can replace the screws, right? Because a hard enough hit is going to snap these fine little screws. So you want to pull those screws out and check them, see if they're looking a little bit way too short. And they should have usually a little pointy section on the screw, which means that screw should still be good. But you'll know. So inspect your gear train really well in that area, and that'll tell you a whole lot right there too about liftoff issues. The other thing that can cause problems is if you bugger up the screws inside your outer shaft. This will also cause your helicopter not to be able to lift off. The only other thing I can tell you that would probably not cause a lift off to be able to take place would be if you've got a really weak motor. So if one of your motors are really weak, so if you check out every single part from the top right on down, all that stuff is perfect. You don't have chewed teeth or busted gears, because a few busted teeth will stop you from taking off too. Definitely, you know, so check all the teeth out, and you've got these two gears here, then you've got a gear here and a gear back here. Now these are all plastic gears, right? You've got brass pinions on your main motors. Inspect the pinions, but it's not likely you're going to break these pinions at all. I mean, they're pretty hard brass, and I've never seen the brass pinions break yet. But also check for slippage that might be happening too. So you can actually put your finger on both gears here and check, and it's moving there, which is fine. Now what you want to do is put like a flat blade screwdriver or even one of these star screwdrivers and put it up against the gear tooth on the brass gear, and then try and turn your blade. Now if the blade turns and the gear doesn't move at all, that brass gear, that means that it's come loose on the shaft of the motor, which you're likely going to need to replace your motor. And motors can be gotten from Cobra, they can be gotten from SEMA, they can be gotten from Estes. So it's not a problem getting replacement motors, because SEMA makes the SO31, Cobra makes the SO31, SO31G. Now there is a difference between the 31 and the 31G. This one here has a 7.4 volt system. The G system has a 9.6 volt system, so the motors are going to be different. So you want to make sure that if all you have is just an SO31, you order the parts for the SO31, and you will get the properly matched motors for it. Now the gear trains between the 31 and 31G are going to be identical, because the helicopters are the same between the 30 and the 31, or between the SO31 and 31G. But what's going to be different is your power to your motors, and your PCB and your battery is the difference. The G has the 9.6 volt PCB, battery, and motors. So, you know, otherwise everything else is exactly the same. So you can get parts between those three companies. Whoever's got the best price is what I go with, and that's how I shop for my parts. So anyways, so yeah, so if your battery checks out, check out your drivetrain and check out your rotor assemblies, check out your screws, pull these screws out. Only pull out one at a time. This way you don't offset things and lose alignment. But pull one out, check it, make sure, you know, it's still intact, the pointy's still there. You know, go around the other side, pull that one out after you put this one in, do the same thing. You get the idea. And that should solve your problems. Once you've eliminated everything, then you'll know where you're sitting as far as your lift off. There's so many things that can go wrong. It's impossible to tell you exactly, you know, this is your problem or this is your problem. This is a bunch of problems, now troubleshoot it, this is what you got to look into for it. So now another thing, if you're having problems with forward and backwards, you know, you've had a few crashes, especially near the tail, these back motors are actually a weak point, which there's no cure for, so you know, it is what it is. But if you take a couple of good hard tail hits, you're going to bend your motor pin here, and you'll be able to see as you're turning that gear wobbling. That's actually going to cause a lot of issues with getting proper speed up for forward and reverse on your blade. So you know, if you do take tail hits and then you start experiencing forward and backwards issues, take a look at that pin. Don't even think about trying to straighten it. I tried it several times. They are very cheap motors to replace. So you just get a whole new motor. Now some of the companies, like I said, you got SEMA, you got Estes, and so on. They're all duplicating this exact same heli. Some of them will sell you a whole new tail boom section with the motor mounted. Others you can get just the individual motor. Others you get the whole assembly, which is the back end here. So you know, it just depends. So take a look around at the different places for parts and see who's got the best bang for the buck, and that's where you get your parts. But other than that, that's for liftoff. That's about all I can tell you as far as, you know, what to look for, what to check out, and hopefully this helps and resolves your issues. Another thing you also, I'll make mention of that you want to keep an eye on too is your blade deflection, okay? It's even though this is a coaxial, it's still important to have a little bit of deflection, but not a whole ton. Like, I've got a bit of play in here that I've actually got to take up a little bit of this, and that's just a matter of just adjusting the tension on the screw. So what I do is I go to where it stops, and it'll actually stop the blade. And then what you do is you just give it a little tweak back and check the play, because you want these to run free, but not too free. Okay, so and try and get each one's tension as even as you possibly can. You'll also have the best flying experience, less chance of blade slap going on, which can cause you to crash. Been there tons of times myself. So that's another thing to always check as a pre-flight check before you fly. Make sure everything's, good and snug the way it should be. And, if you have a crash, go over everything, make sure it's all good before you lift off again, and this way you won't have any problems, hopefully. And always, if you know you're about to crash, kill the throttle as quick as you can. You'll have less chance of damage and or less damage occur if you can cut that throttle off before you have a bad crash. And something this big, don't fly it inside your house. Fly it in a gymnasium, fly it outside, type of thing, because it's an outdoor heli, or large gymnasium type heli. Not meant for flying in the house, because houses don't have a lot of room. So anyway, that's it, that's all. Thanks for watching, and hope this helps. We'll see you in the next video.